Council of Monday, November 20th, 2023 shall come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mike. We approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. To the consent agenda, you have a copy of the minutes of November 6, 2023. We need approval of a private well agreement for 2019 South 56th Street. We have Resolution 2352, a resolution obligating funds from the Clear Lake Consolidated Urban Renewal Tax Fund for appropriation to the payment of annual appropriation tax increment financed obligations which shall come due in the next succeeding fiscal year. D, professional services proposal from Planscape Partners Clear Lake to prepare an urban revitalization tax abatement plan for Emerald Edge subdivision in the amount of $3,500. E, set date for a special city council meeting for November 29, 2023 at 6 p.m. here in the council chambers. F, we need approval of the bills and claims, of which you have a copy. We have the following licenses and permits: liquor license, Class C, retail alcohol license, The Other Place; Class E, retail alcohol license, Lake Liquors, Wine and Spirits; Class C, retail alcohol license, El Loro Mexican Restaurant. These are all renewals. Motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Gary, seconded by Mark, that we approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Mark.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Gary.
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
And Dana.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0, and the consent agenda as well as Resolution 2352 is duly adopted. Now is the time and place for any citizen in the audience who wishes to address the council on any item or items that is not on the agenda. Please approach the podium, state your name first and last, and give your address so the clerk can properly enter it in the minutes. This is not a discussion time nor a question and answer time, and you will have 3 to 5 minutes. None appearing, we'll move on to 5, unfinished business, of which we have none. Directly to number 6, new business, 6A, South 15th Street, Everybody Plays Park and Playground Project. Pay estimate number 10, review of pay estimate number 10 by Scott Flory, City Administrator. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. The gray sheets in your packet address this item. This is pay estimate number 10, as the mayor indicated, for the South 15th Street Everybody Plays Park and Playground Improvement Project. I'll just kind of go through it semi-briefly. We've covered these many times, but the original contract amount, of course, was $1,997,500. Had a number of various change orders that we've had added to the project, different items that we've had included, some deductions, but the net amount of the changes as a result of the change order changed the scope of the contract amount, and so the contract amount itself was revised to $2,043,166.27. So of that amount, the contract items completed to date are $1,834,490.35. So for this particular pay estimate, we have a retainage amount. Of course, there's a 5% retainage amount on this project. So for this pay estimate, that amounted to $91,724.54. So the amount due for this pay estimate is $404,310.45. That leaves amount remaining on the contract yet to be billed of about 15% of that contract amount, which is $300,400.46. So just flipping over a couple of pages on the request for payment detail sheet, just to go through the work completed for this particular pay application. As you'll notice, a bulk of the work that was associated with this was for site work, so over $230,000 of this pay estimate is related to site work, and almost $120,000 of it was related to the splash pad. Other items are for roofing work and some concrete work and just some general conditions for the contract. So In terms of just an update overall, you may have noticed from some of our social media posts that the swings and we call them the trolleys for the zip line were installed this last Friday. And so with the good weather, people are taking advantage of that, seeing quite a few people up there in the park playing. So there are a few architectural items that are left to be installed. Dean Snyder Construction is working to get some things wrapped up here in the next few weeks so that, again, they can kind of winterize the project and then come back in the spring and finalize the splash pad portion of the project. Of course, we weren't able to do that this fall because of the temperatures. This week, we're also going to get together with them and go over a punch list item on the restroom shelter. There's a number of mechanical items that are yet to be installed there. We're still working on the decorative. There's some architectural panels to be installed out in the restroom shelter facility there, so they'll be bolted on here once those arrive, but we're still waiting on those. And then there's some work on the fence itself, some end caps and some locations where signage will be installed that they'll be putting those on the fence yet here before winter as well. In terms of the site work, most of the items there have been complete, and I think they've been punch list item complete. So, and then in terms of the electrical, if you've been by at night, you may have noticed that the street lights are not on, so we're going to get those activated. They hadn't got those activated yet. They're waiting for a cover panel on the electrical panel to be installed, and that's supposed to arrive December 7th, but they think they can get it set up safely enough that they can go ahead and activate those street lights within the parking lot itself. So we'll get those turned on and activated. So again, this particular pay estimate is number 10. It's in the amount of $404,310.45. As I said, that's about 15% of the project yet to be billed, so that's quite a bit to hold on to. And so we'll hold on to that until the project is complete, and then in addition to the retainage. So I don't have anything further unless anyone has any questions on that.
Council, any questions, comments for Scott? The landscaping is all complete.
Yep,
The
everything.
plants are all
Yep.
empty.
Yep.
Thank you, Scott. Therefore, I'll entertain a motion to approve pay estimate number 10 with regard to the South 15th Street Everybody Plays Park and Playground project in the amount of $404,310.45. Motion, please.
So offered.
Second.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Gary, that we approve pay estimate number 10. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. 6B, 2023 Street Resurfacing Project Division 1 and 2. Review of pay estimate number 2 for Divisions 1 and 2. That's final. And a recommendation to accept the project. Jason Petersburg, Special Engineer, VNK Engineering. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. In your packets should be the final pay estimates for both Division 1, which was the concrete repair work associated with the street resurfacing project, and Division 2, which included the asphalt work, as well as the alley reconstruction in the 700 block of Buddy Holly. Wicks Construction out of Decorah was the prime contractor for Division 1 work, the concrete work, and Heartland Asphalt out of Mason City was the prime contractor for Division 2. Division 1 work by Wicks was completed prior to July 4th. The total value of work completed is $423,267.50, which is approximately $39,000 less than the original contract amount. The underrun is primarily due to less aggregate base being required, and they didn't excavate as large of an area behind the curb for building a new curb and gutter, so there's less topsoil and then less seeding associated with that. So those are the primarily the underrun items there. After subtracting previous payments or pay estimate number 1 to Wicks, the amount due to Wicks is $19,000 for pay estimate number 2, the final pay estimate. Division 2 work was completed by Heartland Asphalt after the 4th of July. The total value of work completed by Heartland is $598,646.12, which is about $60,000 less than the original contract amount. The underrun on Division 2 is primarily we had good soils, so we didn't excavate out extra dirt, and import an aggregate base underneath that, and we didn't have to use any subgrade stabilization. So after subtracting the previous payment to Heartland, the amount due at this time is $7,082.28. V&K recommends approval and payment to both Wix and Heartland. Last item in your packets is a certificate of completion for each of the two projects, as well as two separate resolutions accepting the work for Division 1 by Wix and Division 2 by Heartland Asphalt. All work on the projects has been completed, and we do recommend approval of both resolutions accepting work. So in summary, it was somewhere between 20 and 24 blocks of asphalt paving, concrete, curb and gutter repairs, ADA sidewalk ramps, and one alley that was completely reconstructed between Division 1 and Division 2 of this project. Any questions on the pay estimates or the project in general?
Council, any questions for Jason? Thank you, Jason. Appreciate that. Therefore, entertain a motion to approve pay estimates number 2 for Divisions 1 and 2. And Division 1, the payment goes to Wix Construction in the amount of $19,000. Division 2 goes to Heartland Asphalt in the amount of $7,082.20. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Dana, seconded by Mark, that we approve pay estimates for Wix and Heartland in regard to the 2023 street resurfacing project, Division 1 and 2. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. And now I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2353, a resolution accepting the work by Wix Construction, which was Division 1. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Gary, seconded by Mark, that we approve Resolution 2353. Is there any discussion? Mike?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Dana? Yes. And Mark?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Resolution 2353 is duly adopted. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2354, a resolution accepting the work by Heartland Asphalt, which is Division 1. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Dana, that we approve Resolution 2354. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Gary?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
And Mike?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Resolution 2354 is duly adopted. 6Z. C, rezoning request from Brandon and Dennis Rubish of Lakeside Acres to rezone a parcel of property by expanding an existing RS12 high-density single-family residential district, changing a portion of an existing CC2 community commercial district to RFBH factory-built housing residential, and an additional portion of CC-2 to CI1 intensive commercial and establishing an OPDH zone planned development housing overlay district. Introduction and review a recommendation from Planning and Zoning Commission by Mr. Mike Ritter, Clear Lake City Building Official. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We have a proposal from the developers to develop a 25-acre tract of land. And to do that, they're looking to rezone some areas down there too, to extend some single-family housing that we have down there, create another zone to establish a new mobile home park, manufactured housing at that point, and then develop a potential commercial area down towards the south end of that property out of there too. And at that point, and then with the two residentials between the single-family homes and manufactured homing, they'd like to do an overlay district to make some adjustments for setbacks, size of lots that they've gone before the board with, and the board's reviewed that and voted in favor of making that overlay adjustment on there for their size of lots and for the setbacks for the housing that goes in there. The commercial part they would have some restrictions. There would not be outside storage or anything else out of there. It would be internal storage or develop with contractors if someone wanted to have run part of their business or something in that area down at that portion of it. They've got the overlay map that's, the map that's in your packet that's in there, shows the division of the 3 parcels that's in there now. Are there any questions?
Council, any questions for Mr. Ritter?
I've been trying to navigate this and figured part of it out, but maybe most of it not out. Phase 1, I'm guessing, means that's going to be built first, and is that closest to 8th Street?
Yes,
Okay, and it looks like it's a combination of the manufactured homes and mobile homes?
yes, correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And then would Phase 2 just be what's parallel to that, more toward the existing mobile home park?
That'd be going more towards the west, yes.
So,
They'd start developing the eastern half of the parcels first,
right,
off 8th Street, and then work their way towards the west,
okay.
towards,
On both succeeding phases?
yes.
All right.
Yep.
And then would the commercial sheds be built at the same time or later? Or?
Potentially as, I guess, from the developer that they're talking about is depending as need dictated. If there's high demand at the beginning, and they'd kind of take it from there.
Okay, just out of curiosity, how many total manufactured homes would this ultimately end up with, and how many additional mobile homes?
With that one, for the homes, if I remember correctly, I believe there's 91 stick-framed houses.
Okay.
And I think there's 45 manufactured homes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions for Mike? Thank you, Mike. And now, a reviewer request. Brandon Rubish, owner and development. Welcome, Brandon. Am I pronouncing your last name correctly?
Thank you, Mayor.
I'm close.
Well, yeah, Rubish. You
I got it. All right, good.
It's a check. Yeah, Mike laid out a little bit there. We just have had success there at our legacy park, we'll call that, in our manufactured park, and made a lot of upgrades to that since we've purchased it 5-6 years ago, and just see a lot of demand for that type of a community. So we just have a chance to expand that, not just in manufactured homes, but these villas, we're calling them, that'll be stick built on site. The site has some challenges. It's kind of in a lower area, so there's no basements that can be dug here for normal housing. So all of these stick-built structures will just be slab on grade. And then the commercial stuff on the south end is fairly low. Bill, it's looking like to build up those sites for the commercial pads, but for the OPDH overlay, we sent out letters. Part of the zoning rules, you have to notify all the residents within 600 feet. We did that. It was about 143 invites and addresses that we sent out letters to. We had an open house, and 12 people showed up for that. There were some that were in favor of the project. Some people had concerns, and those same people brought concerns to the P&Z meeting, and which I had, based on their feedback, I made some changes to our plan. We've got the zoning signatures within 200 feet. We got at least 50% signatures for that. But yeah, excited about these villas. It'll be kind of its own little community. We'll build a big pool and a pool house and amenities like pickleball courts and indoor shelters and a walking path all the way around this property. And as Mike said, yeah, phase 1 is a little bit of everything to start. And then after that gets filled up, phase 2 is just the other half of it. The concerns at the planning and zoning, some people were concerned about the amount of traffic that this development would bring to 15th Avenue. So I had decided to add another entrance off of South 8th Street. to alleviate some traffic. One concern was they were going to lose their view of the cornfield. They were concerned about that. I have wrote in there now that we'll place screening along 15th Avenue so they don't have to look at the not cornfield. And then there was a concern about making sure emergency vehicles can get through. So those are changes we made to make sure that those concerns can be addressed.
Any discussion, pro or con, with either our fire department or our police department?
We haven't got that far yet.
Okay,
That'll be part of,
The
if
next
this
step.
preliminary PDH plan is approved, that'll be the next step,
okay,
just to make sure that's all hashed out.
okay. And the square footage of the manufactured house homes?
An average one, it'll be roughly 1,000 square foot manufactured. These manufactured homes now they'll cost right around $80,000 to $90,000 is a new one today. And then by the time, if they want a deck on, we don't allow any exposed wood of any kind. So even in our legacy park, we make them put a composite deck on, just so we don't have to argue about what maintenance looks like down the road. So yeah, they're all in for at least $100,000 to move in a new manufactured home. On that side, we're gonna put some, it's kind of like development standards, or maybe you say they're covenants, just to not just have a plain Jane vinyl home either, just to make sure you're adding enough windows and things too. But all these manufactured homes these days are built to HUD code. They're 2x6 wall construction, so they're not the manufactured homes of old.
Private streets, I see.
Yes, yep,
That's-
private streets that we'll maintain completely, snow removal, repair work, whatever, yep.
Council, any further questions?
Brandon, I've got a quick question. How will this development be done? Will the people purchase these villas or these homes and then rent the land that the property sits on, or the house sits on? Is that
Yep.
how it works, sort of like the park?
So, yes, like our traditional park, legacy park, I keep calling it, yes, you rent the ground from us, and we make sure the infrastructure and the facility, all the flat work is maintained and accessible. So the new development, very similar for the manufactured housing piece. And then the manufactured house, yeah, you purchase and then pay us lot rent, because they can pull it out if they wanted to. So the stick-built villas, I'm considering doing a plat of lease on. So then you have a legal description, so you can go get a loan on your villa. So yeah, you'll own your villa, and then we'll sign a 30-year lease type of thing that automatically renews. And then you have access to all the amenities, and we'll take care of snow and whatever else we have in there.
Will the goal be to have public water and sewer to all these?
Yes.
City public water and sewer?
Mhm.
Thank you.
HOA covering the whole area?
I don't know if we'll call it the HOA, but yes, it's all encompassing of all the property, yes.
Including commercial?
The overlay is just for the residential piece. I don't know how I'm gonna tackle the commercial piece yet. I'm sure people are gonna want to bring their boats up. And so part of these commercial sheds may be boat storage, because I don't want them parking on the streets or in their driveways, their boats. So maybe some rentals down there, maybe they're condo shops, as I call them, to purchase their own individual bay, or maybe it's communal boat storage that they buy or rent. Just depends what the demand is.
Good, good. Go ahead, Mike.
No garages at all.
On the large plan of the villa, there will be the full two-story. We do plan for a one-stall garage underneath. And then we haven't decided yet on garages on the manufactured homes. Don't know how those will really fit.
Now, kind of a high-intensity housing development. with not a huge amount of space, and parking will be a premium. What's the approach on rentals and short-term rentals?
Great question. We don't allow any rentals at our current Legacy Park. We don't allow any short-term rentals, and there will absolutely be no rentals, no Airbnbs or none of that sort. We may consider if the families want to, they're having a reunion or something, maybe one of the villas, hey, we're having a reunion, can we use your villa type of thing, but nothing formal, and no rentals like that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry.
No, I was going to just ask you, Brandon, so go ahead with your thought on parking.
Yep, parking, so every lot will have 2 stalls off-street, and then the plat is kind of hard to see on that single page paper, but there'll be some overflow parking also scattered throughout the development.
Tell me this, in terms of lot rents, I know Dana had raised this issue. Ballpark for me what kind of costs a homeowner would have in terms of the rent for the lot.
For a manufactured home, our Legacy Park, we're at $355 a month now for our Legacy Park. That includes sewer and water. We'll probably have to have in the mid-5s to $600 a month for the manufactured piece. And then for the villas, similar, might be a little less.
Okay. Then tell me this. It's an interesting concept, and by the way, thank you for coming to the meeting. We appreciate that and your interest in developing this here in Clear Lake. But if I wanted to go look at a similar type park, where would be like the nearest place where I could get a good look at this type of approach to housing, the villas and so on?
We frankly got the idea from an ex-coworker of mine who's doing this in Nebraska. Is the closest they're doing it. They have a campground on the Missouri River.
Okay. And so where would that be located at exactly? Could I
Omaha.
So is there a website or something we could look at that online, or?
I'll have to get that to you. I can't think of the name of it
Okay.
right now. Yeah.
No, I'd appreciate that. I mean, I'd just like to take a look at it. But to your knowledge, there's none of these in Iowa at this time, this type of approach?
No. I've been to Bridges Bay and Okoboji. They're doing, I don't know how similar they are to this, but Bridges Bay is a way bigger, even bigger than this, of a lot of different housing uses, mainly cabins. You own your own cabin, but I don't know if you own the dirt or not, but there's surely an HOA fee there because there's amenities all around that place also. And then there's storage of garages, and if you have an extra vehicle or whatnot, you can buy or rent a garage there. They've got these little tiny cabins also on the property. And then of course they've got their condos on the lake and then the big hotel there. So that's kind of similar, I guess. That would be the closest thing.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions, comments, council? Thank you, Brandon, very much. Therefore, entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2355, a resolution of intent to hold a public hearing on a rezoning petition. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Bennett, that we approve Resolution 2355. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Bennett?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And Gary?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Resolution 2355 is duly adopted. Thank you. 6D, update and request from North Iowa Children's Museum. Review of request by Ellen Pritchard, board member. Welcome, Ellen.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, council. Good to see you tonight. Ellen Pritchard Sedlock, here on behalf of the North Iowa Children's Museum. We have been here once before, so I held off on the presentation. I know it's a buzz. Recently, Trunk or Treat at the Wellness Center, we co-sponsored that with the Wellness Center, and we had between 1,500 and 2,000 attendees for that event. So proving out the model that not only do we need to exercise our bodies, right, but exercise our minds, is how I like to think of a children's museum. And now having two littles of my own, we got to get out of the house some way, shape, or form, and winter's coming. So we have Love That Everyone Plays playground, and are ready for, you know, a little hesitant for the winter, and we have the wellness center, which has been a great asset. So we look at this as a complement and another way to get not only Clear Lake families out, but also the North Iowa communities as well. So with that, some updates since the last time we were here. We do have a donor who has committed to donating a plot of land for the Children's Museum out at Emerald's Edge. I know that's been a talk out there, but there is a lot that they are in negotiations with to finalize. So we do have a location that we are really excited about. This is a change from the last time we were up here to speak with you all. We see pros of being on Highway 18. You're very close to the interstate, as well as you're right on that main corridor, so area communities can come and enjoy it in the wintertime. Along with that, now that we've, seen these models proved out in local events, and then as well as having that solidified location, we are ready to take the next step to pursue some grants through the Iowa Economic Development Team. One of those is the CAT grant, as well as Destination Iowa. I'm not here to ask for any money or anything of that sort from the city, but I am here to ask for a letter of intent to partner with us on that endeavor. So essentially get a grant writer, start preparing for those, because it will be here. Those deadlines will be here before we know it. So any questions that you have for me before we ask for that motion?
Do you have any idea as to how much these grants would come forth with?
Yep. So the first one, the CAT one, the Community Attraction and Tourism Grant, that is approximately 1.3 million is the total that we could get from that grant. 65% of the total project cost is required to be committed to the project before even asking for that grant, and we are very confident that we have that in donors. Just between getting out there and getting those commitments, they're pledges, it's not actual dollars and cents, but we're very confident that we can get that dollar amount. Destination Iowa, you're all familiar with the surf project. So that one we would be dipping back in for our area, which we know is a fight, but we're willing to do it because we're very passionate about this project. That one, I believe we're up to about $3 million for that project. And that one, you can receive grant funds up to 25% of the project costs. So again, another strong opportunity for us there.
Any further comments, questions, Council of Ellen?
So you're just asking for a letter of intent tonight?
A letter of intent and then opportunity to partner with the city to help write the grants.
Yeah, I was just going to say congratulations on finding a parcel of ground that seems appropriate to your needs, and that's a very exciting feature of this. So I, for one, will be happy to support this, and like I say, I appreciate the effort in getting those grants, as well as the private fundraising you've done. So
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Effort.
I guess I'll address this to Scott. What does this involve for you or the city or?
So this would essentially be that, similar to like what we did with the Destination Iowa project, we'd bring on a grant writer to help work with the committee and the city to develop this application, as Ellen mentioned, to the Community Attraction and Tourism application, as well as the Destination Iowa. Might have to pick one or the other, but it'd be one of those two, and work towards that. So we would be a co-applicant along with the 501c3 nonprofit North Iowa Children's Museum.
Would either or both of these grants have a match?
Yes. Yep.
Match from the city.
Yeah, or private, or both, yep.
Okay, could be private.
Yep, private, yep.
You do have a schematic design drawn, or you have had?
Yep, we have had that. And we would be willing to share that at the next meeting. We're getting a couple, so we're waiting on the second.
How many square feet are in this building? Do you have I heard a number on the radio today and I couldn't believe it.
Well, our hope is to be between 10 and 12,000 feet.
Do you know what they said on the radio this morning? 32,000.
Which, I mean, that would be a probability if we could. A building that you could look at that's similar is in Mason City. The Charlie Brown daycare that was just put up is I mean, that's what we would hope for, right? But 10 to 12,000 would be similar to, I believe, Fairway, the level of Fairway. But I have to say, if you were at the Trunk or Treat event, 1,500 to 2,000 people in that wellness center filled it up. And going to the playground, that place is packed every time I've been there with my daughters. So it sounds like a lot, but the space will be filled. And if you see the exhibits, they need that space to really breathe and let the kids run around.
The number I heard this morning is, that's a pipe dream. We're going to be a little more realistic about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure where they came up with
I don't know either. I
32,000
heard it
square
on the
feet.
radio
No,
when I
no,
got,
I think
I
the,
about ran off the road. I heard it.
Not a pipe dream girl, though. If we got to go for it, we'll find a way, you know. But we'll be realistic with the project as well.
Yeah.
I think generally the range is in that 12
Yeah.
to 20,000.
That's what I thought. It was probably 12 and it was misread or what, but wow, 32,000, my word.
But if I understand it correctly, Ellen, our involvement as a city
That's right.
enables the grant process to move forward for you with the state.
Correct,
And that's the key
exactly.
point here, right?
Yep. This
Yeah.
is step one in the process, so.
Yeah.
That's a good way
That
to look at it.
partnership.
We're at step one.
Yeah.
We aren't,
Yep.
yeah, we aren't further on down. Yep. Any other questions for Ellen? Good job, Ellen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Therefore, entertain a motion to approve the city being a co-applicant on a future grant application request to the State of Iowa Economic Development Authority and authorizing city staff to solicit support services proposals for purposes of assisting in the preparation of a future grant application. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Bennett. Is there any discussion? Go ahead.
Just one here. I guess the timing on this is my only hesitation. We're in heavy with projects right now. We've got housing developments coming out of the sky and out of the ground and every other development, and there's usually a city involvement in those. The SURF project is definitely the elephant in the room. Big commitment there from the city. So I guess one of my questions would be, she sounds very excited, like if she could break ground next spring, she'd be on her way. I mean, can we plan for this? Can we do our part if we move forward on this right now?
Yeah, definitely a lot going on, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, as you perfectly articulated, a lot of things happening. I think, they would have to go through a design process, the application be due in probably February. It takes some time for them to respond to that, so might not know anything until maybe June, somewhere in there. But, and then if it was awarded, there's probably some more fundraising to do, so I'm not sure in terms of the nonprofit what their desired schedule would be, but I would be hard pressed to believe they could begin too much formally until the fall or winter of next year. It's probably going to take about a 6 to 8 month period for design for an architect to be involved. So might be looking at like a winter 25 bid letting on something like this, and probably construction starting in the spring of 25, just off the cuff.
Okay. Well, and, for all of you folks out there in land, observation land, Gary and I won't be around, so it's going to move in one direction or another, whether we're here or not. But I found myself sitting here year after year after year, constantly. And it would be a great project for the city of Clear Lake and the young people of Clear Lake and their parents. But I always am concerned about the taxpayers of Clear Lake. And if there's one thing we found out, even if we don't bump the millage rate, property taxes in Clear Lake are getting to be a heavy lift for a lot of people, especially those on a fixed income. So I guess I would hope, if indeed this moves forward, and the city has a big ask on it, that we could spread it out over maybe multiple budget years and not borrow a gigantic amount of money to add on to what we seem to be heading toward already. So anyway, just get that out there and see where it goes, I guess.
Mike brought up a really good point. Scott, let me ask you this, since you've kind of got a schedule in mind of how this will all come to fruition. Would it be beneficial tonight to table this till after the first year when an incoming council comes in, or will that delay it a certain amount, or?
Yeah, I would say that's going to put them and us behind the 8 ball a little bit, because the grant for sure one is going to be due in mid to early February, so that would not leave much time there at all.
All right.
All right, we've got a motion on the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same. Motion carries 5-0. Move on to Chief of Police report. Welcome, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I believe you have your October 2023 CLPD monthly report there, and I will just note that in the front page there, we were able to participate in the trunk or treat at the Wellness Center, and the officers that were there had a great time. We handed out lots of candy and some tattoos for all the kids that were there. And then again, on the following trick or treat night, we had 1,000 of those the glow sticks that we handed out there too, and those are gone with about an hour. So Clear Lake was definitely the place to be those couple of days. The officers had lots of great interactions with the kids, both at the Wellness Center and on Halloween night, up and down Main Street and throughout the community and the other little enclaves of residential areas in Clear Lake and also in Ventura. As I was looking over the counts or the monthly report for the meeting tonight earlier, I kind of was thinking that I think this is probably our best monthly report since I've started doing these newsletters. It really encapsulates everything that Clear Lake PD is doing. You have everything from law enforcement to community interactions to officers stopping by kids' birthday parties and just interacting with the community. So it really kind of, what I was looking at, encapsulated what we do on a day-to-day basis. You have everything from officers going through training there, the appointment there of myself to the new police chief, and then our stats there too. So I just wanted to kind of give you a little memoir there as I looked through it today, preparing for tonight. But other than the stuff that's in there, I don't know if there's any questions that you guys have about any of the articles in there or anything, but a couple of updates that are not in there. We did have our last yearly training for the department this last week, what we did with the fire department and the DCI over in the fire department's building there. We talked about that at the last council meeting that we're getting ready for that. And then we have our last dispatch training and meeting coming up next week over at the fire department as well too. So we're closing out our training for the year with the payback hours the officers all have and the dispatchers. And I think I heard a lot of good feedback from our dual training with the fire department from the officers and the FD personnel that were there too. So I just thought I'd highlight that'll be in our next monthly report as well, highlighting that too. But we've really put a focus on our ongoing education and training and looking outside the four walls of Clear Lake PD of what we can bring in to collaborate with other agencies around to train on that too. So any questions on the monthly report there at all?
I think that's one of the greatest things that have come out of our department personally, you know,
I know the officers
little
really
short
like it.
bits is, for a guy that doesn't like to lead crime and punishment or any of those things, this is really good to read and easy to read, but yet you get the full picture of what's happening, and that interaction with the citizenry and our PD is even more important, and that's happening now. That's great.
Yeah, that was the intent, to really highlight everything we're doing, not just numbers and statistics and reports and traffic stops and enforcement. There's a lot more that happens on a daily basis that never really gets a light shine on it as much as it should.
And police officers do smile. Any further comments?
Yes, Mayor. Thank you, Chief, for the report. I would echo his comments. I really like the newsletter. For example, you mentioned here Officer Conklin and Lieutenant Hines apparently used CPR to save someone's life here in the last 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so, very heroic on their part. And again, appreciate all the service that these folks provide to the public. So, thank you.
That particular patient was able to walk out of the hospital 7 or 8 days later after that, which was an amazing feat.
Yeah.
And it was by no small part of Paige's input there, and then the fire department showing up and taking over and just rendering their service and escalating that level of service and care from on the street all the way to the hospital.
Absolutely. That's very impressive, Chief. So that's why I wanted to mention those officers tonight. Very impressive. So, thank you.
Any other comments? Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Public Work Director Report, Jeremy Kornberg, Director.
I really don't have anything. As far as major updates.
You got the plows on?
What's that?
You got the plows
I
on?
don't know what you're talking about.
Told them.
Clock, the game starts in a half hour.
Oh, he's got time. Any questions for Jeremy? Comments? Thank you. Under Mayor's Report, I'll read it here. This is a follow-up request for support of the Child Care Works Wage Supplement Program initiative from Saragota Public Health Child Care Works Collaborative. You recall at our last meeting, we had a representative from Saragota County Public Health here requesting some funding for the Child Care, correct me, Scott, if I'm wrong on this, Child Care Works Wage Supplement Program. And we said, give us some time, you take some time, and we are here. Council, what's your pleasure on this? I see where our neighboring community, I think, has offered $50,000.
Well, Mason City gave $100,000 of some unspent ARPA funds that they had remaining, and our counterparts at Saragota County have pledged $50,000 over the course of three years. So, and if just as a reminder, the state grant is a 2-for-1 in this situation. So they'll match $2 at the state level for every dollar that we would put in here locally.
Will they still match it? I mean, it sounds like the deadline had been changing almost daily.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
all right.
Right. Yep.
Because that was one of the big
I think it changed 3 or 4 times.
caveats.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
Go ahead. I would recommend, and Councilman Hugie and I have discussed this about the amount of money that I think we, correct me, Scott, if I'm wrong on this amount, to the North Iowa Event Center at one time in the amount of $50,000. I believe that's correct.
Pledged
Is
over
that
2
right?
years, correct,
That
yeah.
was for the horse arena or something like
Horse
that.
barn, yeah.
I certainly think we could also offer the same amount here with regard to the Child Care Works Wage Supplement Program in that amount, if that is of your pleasure. Comments on that, Council?
Would that be over 2 years, 3 years?
It might
1
as
year?
well 2 years would be. I know the county did 3, but if you wish 3, but it's probably more burdensome to do it for 3. It's,
I think less is more,
yeah.
because you're spreading it out over a long period, and the demand is today. So I think 50,000 is a good number. And if we did it over 2 years, that'd be awesome as well.
And just as a reminder, so this would be, we ultimately have an agreement with the North Iowa Corridor EDC, so these funds are going to flow to the nonprofit that we work with for economic development, and then they're actually setting up an administrative policy and process in terms of how those dollars would be managed and distributed. So at this point, it's just more of a demonstration that this is what we would contribute to it, but ultimately you'll be seeing later on a formal agreement that will memorialize out how those dollars are paid out, the checks and the balances, if you will.
I think that's a very effective way of doing it, Scott, and frankly, there's a tremendous need, as we discussed at our other meeting, for it, and the opportunity with a state grant that will match it 2-for-1. I can certainly support this. As Dana mentioned, if you want to do over 2 years, that's fine. So that would be my view.
Any council member wish to put that into a motion, please?
Certainly, I'll go ahead and move that we support that endeavor.
Second.
That's in the amount of 50,000, correct?
Yes, 50,000 over a 2-year period.
Over a 2-year period. Is there any discussion, council?
This makes a lot more sense than horses.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. City Administrator's report.
Nothing tonight, sir.
There's a football game.
That's right.
Okay, we're, people in the audience now, we're going to have to close this session, and pursuant to Section 21.5G of the Code of Iowa, we will move into a closed session to discuss purchase of real estate. Thank you all for being here tonight.